though it's a writing assignment, it's a computer-based exam, so you'll be writing on your device, right? Using your keyboard. So how did it start? Well, to begin with, again, the previous session, like the reading part, yeah, the reading part of the exam was over. I think we had 40 minutes for the reading. And then the instructors told us that this phase of the exam is over. Now please remain seated while we collect your papers. They gave us the papers. On the top part of the paper, you had some notes, including the data, your login and your password to enter the device and pass your exam. And the bottom of the paper was empty so that you could or you can write some notes. Yeah, it's allowed. So we just waited, they collected the papers, and then the instructor started reading the instructions again. Like, you should raise your hand if you have a question, do not speak to each other. Now we are moving on to the next section of the exam, which is writing, and you will have 60 minutes. And you should spend more time on the second essay, we were told by the instructor, because you'll get more points from the second essay. Yeah, that's a big difference because in other sections of the exam, like listening and reading, you have 40 questions and you start from zero and you move upward, so you can earn points by answering questions, and each question is worth 1 point. Yeah. In here, oh, someone is calling me, it seems. Who's that? Well, just a second. Ayo, this. All right, yes, I'm back. So yes, we were in this case, yes, we were told that the second essay is worth more points. So we were advised to spend 20 minutes on the first essay and 40 minutes on the second one, right? So again, they gave us papers and we were free to make some notes on those papers as well. And one thing which is very well, a couple of things actually. Again, you have your timer just as usual on top of your screen, so you can track your time, and you have the word count, which is very, very useful. So it's inbuilt into the device, into the program, I mean, into the software. So you can track your wording and your word count, which is very useful. So for the first one, you have 150 words. For the second essay, you have 250 words. Actually, I raised my hand and I called the instructor. Actually, I did it twice. So the first essay, instead of 150 words, I had about 180 words, I think. And the second one, it was longer. Instead of 250 words, I had about 340 words. I just double checked. I wanted to be sure that I won't be penalized for the extra words. And she reassured me twice. She told me that if you go over it, you won't be penalized for that. However, I still edited my essays and I decreased the amount of my words. And for the first, and actually the instruction on the screen reads, write at least 150 words. Write at least 250 words. So this is why I thought, well, okay, if I go overboard, probably that's okay because it's not strict. It's explicitly, clearly mentioned that at least. It doesn't say maximum, right? And the instructor She reassured me, and however, still, she advised to remain close to the word count. So I just edited myself, and I removed a few dozen words from both essays. Okay, still, I had 170 and maybe 270 words, I think. So, yeah, hopefully it's true. I trust them. I won't be penalized for that. Okay. So the first essay, actually, you are given a chart. Like I had two charts, and I had to describe what was on those charts. Mine was about politics and voting and the involvement of men and women. In the first chart was about local political elections. The second one was national political elections. So I just had, and there was a specific time span, starting from 60s until 2000 or 2010, like decades. Yes, and then you had those numbers. Sometimes the women were more active. They would like the number would rise, and men were less active. Their numbers would fall. So I had to compare those numbers, men and women, and local and national elections. So that's what I did. And I actually followed the paradigm of the whole exam. I did what they did to me. I did to them what they did to me. I mean, I used lots of synonyms in order to describe what I saw. For instance, instead of writing men and women all the time, I wrote men and women, male voters and female voters, both genders, all the voters. Yes, four different or three different synonyms to the same concept. That's one example. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Nothing complicated. If you speak English, that should be a piece of cake to you, especially if you have, well, I have some writing experience. I used to write articles and produce content for different like businesses and non-profits. So I had this experience as well. So this was the first essay. The second one, the topic was, and again, you have your timer. You are free to go like uh, forward and backward. Backward. If you move to your second essay, you are free to come back to the first one. Technically, you have those little numbers, number one at the bottom of the screen and number two. So you can click, and that's a good thing. And you have this option for all throughout the whole testing process. Like when you're listening, when you're writing, yeah, you can go back and forth all the time. With essays, it's similar. So that's great. Also, yeah, the second topic was there are some vehicle-free days in city centers, and I was asked whether I agree that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and it's a nice thing to have vehicle-free days in city centers. Um, Mostly it referred to private cars, trucks, and it stated that, for instance, taxis, buses remained available. Yeah. So I just gave my reasons. Of course, writing an essay, again, it's a skill. You should work on it on your own, maybe with someone who knows how to do that. Again, I was lucky enough. Because I've gone through a number of training sessions. I've been to Tel Aviv, for instance, when I was an LGBT activist. I still am, but right now I'm more interested in learning and teaching. So in Tel Aviv, I've gone through a very interesting learning process. They taught us how to speak, how to write speeches, yeah, And even like when you're learning English, if you tell the instructor why you need, uh, like what skills do you need to learn, often those learning materials are incorporated into your learning process, and you can learn to produce essays as well. So be clear about that, take care of that. So in general, here's what I did. I just started with an opening statement, like, yeah, there is this vehicle-free day thing going on, and I believe advantages outweigh disadvantages. So I gave a statement. Then I started explaining myself, like, to begin with, I started with that phrase. You can just go like, firstly, or to begin with, or any other way. It's also about creativity, yeah. So you can improvise. You have a number of options available to you. So to begin with, I started with the fact that pollution, the level of pollution falls when you have vehicle-free days, and that was my like reason number one. Then the third paragraph would be next. We have I talked about the environment, like the fact that cities are not only for human beings but also for other forms of life, including trees, insects, other mammals like cats and dogs, etc., etc. So then the fourth paragraph, like I think I gave another reason. Then, so statement to begin with, next, then. I also gave a counter argument in my sixth paragraph. I was like, some people might argue that. And see, I used the word might to show off my knowledge. Like, okay, I could use may. I also know might. Yeah. So I used a lot of synonyms throughout the essay. And I wrote, some people might argue that. However, public transportation remains available to those citizens. And in the end, to sum up, I summed up the whole essay. There are vehicle-free days, and it is good for the urban ecosystem and for all the living creatures. So in the in the conclusion, to sum up, in the summing up part, you should not add any new information. Okay, that's important. Just sum up your all of your paragraphs. Okay, to sum up, yeah, there is this, and it's good because that was it. So I'll learn I'll get my results either tomorrow or maybe within 3 days. So I'll update you on my results as well. Um, one last thing is actually it's not about writing. Well, once your time is up again, when you only have 10 minutes, you cannot leave the room. Prior to that, you can leave the room, and the color changes, the timer color changes, and when you have only 5 minutes, it turns to red, it starts to give you some signals. So it's good enough, it's very helpful. And in the end, we were told that, okay, the exam is over, you are free to leave the room. We were given our belongings. The smartphones you should switch it off, and they put it into a separate bag, and then you are given it back. Okay. And we took our belongings and left. That's it. One last thing was about actually reading. So in the reading section, sometimes it's not just about words, it's about your understanding of of the entire sentences and paragraphs. Okay, so in the last paragraph, for instance, you had 3 or 4 different ideas, and the question was, what does this paragraph discuss? And there were several options which could relate to the paragraph because all of them were included. I'll make a separate video and I'll create a special exercise, okay, with the answers. So stay tuned. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, okay? And check back later because I'll make some exercises. So this testing system or the testing systems, they are made to really understand your level of English. It's not about making your life harder. It's about really understanding. Like they approach from different angles, from different viewpoints. They want to know your understanding, like your level of understanding. Okay, this is how it works. So, in terms of prep, like preparation for the exams, you should not try and memorize a lot of information. You should just learn English well. If you allow yourself more time, like 6 months, 1 year, that would be cool. If you are like, okay, I need this within 3 months, and if your level of English is not really high, then chances are that your grades won't be high enough either. Okay, so you should be conscious of what is this test about and how it works. Okay, so there can be any topic. Again, to cover a few of them, I learned about chicken, about ancient Egypt, about the universe, and there was one text about which I actually forgot to mention. It was about a training session. A company organized a training session for the tech specialists to help them to help them actually get some public speaking skills. Okay, so uh, there is a wide range of topics. You cannot memorize the content because in some countries, including Armenia, we are trained on a very ancient, I'd say, paradigm, on an outdated paradigm that, for instance, the Armenian speakers will know this word shtemaran. Yes, you are given shtemarans, and your task is to memorize the entire book or a couple of books, like hundreds and hundreds of exercises, and you prepare yourself to the exam with the paradigm, okay, I have to memorize all of this because my questions will come from this book. Okay, so in TOEFL and in IELTS, the paradigm is a bit different. It's not about memorizing all the like the memorizing entire libraries, okay, or entire shelves of books. Yeah, it's about your understanding of English, and it's not just reading; it's listening. Yes, it's writing. Okay, apart from reading. Yes, and it's talking. Okay, so yeah, it's a very holistic, I would say, holistic and diverse um, system, a very rich one. It's not, I'd say, it's not two-dimensional. It's three-dimensional. Okay, so it's about also personal development. Like when you prepare for TOEFL or IELTS, uh, if you're lucky with your teacher, I mean, if you pick a good one, um, you'll go through some personal development process. I mean, how to speak, yeah, public speaking skills, because if you get nervous, well, you can lose yourself, like in your thoughts, in your mind. And even though you know a lot, you might not be able to express your thoughts, especially if you have a real human sitting in front of you, which is the case for IELTS. Yes. So, yeah, it's about personal development. It's about enriching your worldview. Yeah. So that's it for today. Stay tuned because I'll produce a couple of more, well, actually several videos. Okay. So thank you and cheers.